What's up, guys? Adam Patterson out here, and I want to talk to you about the most important thing that is in business, which is stress management. When you are building a business, you are going to be hit with all different types of stresses or stressors. The first one is going to be, is this actually a business? Is this something that I can sell? Is this something that can be done? Is this something that could make it and make any revenue and make any profit? And then you will hit markers of you're going to be reaching out to customers and prospects, and you're going to eventually get an opportunity to quote something for them, a project or whatever have you, because you're an outbound seller. And you're going to get hit with our current vendor does it for X price, and that X price is going to be below your cost to do it. And you're going to be left thinking, is this actually something that is sustainable? Is someone willing to pay for this? And because you're at zero, you do not know. And that is the first stressor that you are ever going to hit. And you just have to keep pressing forward, especially if you are in a value-based business. For me, I'm a freight brokerage. I'm a freight broker. And there is a cost of me doing my business. I quote a lane, not for what it costs to move it. I quote a lane to a prospect for what it costs, plus what I believe my value add, my service that I provide is worth. And typically, it's somewhere between 8 to 12%. I don't typically go above 15%. If I go above 15%, it's usually just a very rare one-time event, and then it evens itself back out later on. But that value add, that is my service, and I believe that there should be a profit to that. That my value add, my service, is my profit. It's not the cost of the carrier. The carrier has already factored in their profit, and that was their quote to me. That's what they were willing to run it at. Most likely. I don't factor in the carrier's prices for anything. I don't ask them, like, can you run this at break even for me? I say, I want you to run it profitably, quote me a profit, and then I will add my value add to that. And if my prospect, my customer, doesn't find my value add to be of service, to be something that they value, that they want to pay for, they do not have to. They can choose to go elsewhere. And there is a lot of stressors in that, because a lot of people will start a business and they'll earn business and they'll earn a customer and they'll start being paid. And then all of a sudden the customer will come in and they'll start to ask for a discount because a certain other vendor quoted them at a certain price that's underneath your price. And you have two options at that point to let them know who you're going to be. You can either agree to a discount and then all of your work should be discounted going forward, or they'll always ask for a discount. Or you can stick to your price, stick to your rate, stick to your service levels and profitability, and say, no, I'm sorry. This is what I believe the fair market value of my service ad is. And you can choose to do that. And you will have to deal with these stressors all throughout the day. When you run a business, there are stressors of cash flow. There are stressors of profitability. There is stressors of everything. Taxes. Many, many things will stress you out during the day. And managing stress is the job of the business owner. It is your hardest job because you will have infinite stress. When you worked at a job and you had a baseline salary, you had less stresses on you during your day-to-day than you do as a business owner, especially if it's something like me where you can do the same job working under somebody else's umbrella. I now have multiple more stressors because I do not have a baseline salary. I have to worry about cash flow. I have to worry about profitability more because profit is the only way that I create any cash flow for myself. And if I want to be paid next week, I need to have profitability, cash flow, and next week's cash flow already mapped out. And you could do a lot of like cash flow charting. I don't. I choose to focus. I'm pretty much living day to day up until all my bills for the month get covered. And then I start projecting and start really going for the end of the month, the bigger payouts. But the aim is always to keep stresses at a minimum or learn how to deal with stress, because stressors are going to be your biggest challenge as a business owner, and they can make you sit still or they can make you get in motion, and you should always get in motion. There are times to sit and think and ponder and strategize, and there is times to execute and implement and iterate. And you need to be operating and iterating and executing at very high levels. And once you do that, you will notice that financial stressors come down, and now it's more about people, placement, and more along the lines of strategy and growth. And that is what you need to plan for. But stress will be your largest issue when starting a business and keeping a business. Hope it was valuable. Like, comment, subscribe.